Once you've installed Linux Mint, you'll end up with something similar to what we've got here. Regardless whether you've installed the Cinnamon, Mate or Xfce desktop, it'll pretty much look like this. This is the Mate desktop. You'll have your menu, your panel or taskbar down the bottom, your clock, some folders on the desktop and so forth. I'm going to run through some of the various bits and pieces of customizing the look and feel of the system. So we're going to start with the menu. So there's your menu if you click the button. But if you do a right click, you can go to Preferences. And you've got quite a few options there that you can indulge yourself in. So we can see we've got down the left hand side here, we've got a bit of a column there, so we can actually resize the menu and get rid of some of that if space is a bit of a problem for you. You have lost the shutdown and logout buttons by doing that, but there's other ways around that as well. So there's quite a few choices that you can make here, such as here, show favorites when the menu's open. So at the moment it's on all applications and you have to click to get to your favorites. So we enable that. Here we are on our favorites, and you can go back to all applications and you can just right click something that you want in your favorites. You can go show my favorites, or you can add to the panel or the desktop. It's pretty self-explanatory, most of that. So we'll turn that back off. So take the time to have a bit of a look down through some of the various options that you've got in here if you want to customize and tweak your menu a little bit further than what it is. You can also edit the menu. So again, you right click the menu button, edit menu. I'm not going to show how this works here now. I just want to point out that it's there. If you want to know how to use it a little bit, I've installed the Tor browser. If you go down through my channel, I've done it on various different Linux distros, and that'll give you a bit of an idea if you follow through there of how to use that. So that pretty much covers the menu. You've got these one-click launchers beside the menu, pretty self-explanatory there. Beside the Firefox icon here, there's actually 3 vertical dots. There's also another 3 over near the shield on the right hand side. If we do a right hand click on them, we can get preferences, and there's some little preferences there, the way windows are grouped on the panel and that sort of thing. Or the thumbnails, if you're still on Linux Mint 20, I believe it was set here, show thumbnails on hover. For example, we start the file manager, so you get a little bit of a preview there. A thumbnail, they don't line up very well and they don't really do much, so you can remove them by just selecting hide the thumbnails, and there's other options there to do with the window groupings, that sort of thing. And this is the first time I've come across the Workspaces, which we'll get into in a moment. Moving across to the panel itself, you can right click the panel, you can go to properties, and you can obviously move it to the top, bottom, left and right. You can make it bigger, smaller, and auto hide it, that sort of thing. You can have a different color in the background, such as that. Make it opaque. Most of the usual sort of stuff. Most of that's probably fairly self-explanatory. Again, if we right click the panel, we can go add to panel. If we scroll to near the bottom, here's the Workspace switcher, so let's add that. And we'll right click it and we'll go to move. We'll just move it over here somewhere. And what that does, there's actually 4 workspaces, you just can't see them. If we hold down Control Alt and use the right hand arrow on the keyboard, Workspace 2, 3 and 4. So for example, we could start the terminal up here. It's on Workspace 4. You can see it represented down on the switcher. If we go back to Workspace 2, let's start the file manager there. we'll move the file manager up there. You can see it represented there and its approximate location. So there's that. So obviously these represent your 4 workspaces. We can right click the top. We can also right click the title bar, and you'll see here there's some options to move. Let's move it to Workspace 2. And now we can see there it is there on Workspace 2. Or using the keyboard again. Control, Alt, left and right arrow. We'll move you around there. So we'll close that. Let's send this to Workspace 1. So there's nothing on Workspace 2. If you don't want to have to deal with the workspaces at all, you just want the one workspace or virtual desktop, you can actually right click on the switcher here and go to Preferences. Number of workspaces, we can just reduce that down to 1. And there you are, we're back on Workspace 1. And you can see it's only representing 1 down here as well. And then you could just remove that from the panel and you're good to go. I'm going to leave it on there, so we'll go back and we'll add it again, and we'll go to Preferences, go back to our 4 workspaces, that was the default, and we'll move this across to the right hand side again. There's also quite a few other little things in here, including a shutdown button. So let's add that to the panel. There we go, we've got a shutdown button. So if you've gone for the option to reduce the size of the menu by getting rid of the left hand side of the menu, you can still get a shutdown button there. So we'll just cancel out of there. Let's see if there's a logout button. There's the logout button, so we'll add that as well. So you can actually build the options down there onto the panel. As I say, if you go back into here, Preferences, and you'll see how big. So the places and the system on the left there. So let's just remove those. Now the menu's quite a bit smaller. You might prefer that. In Xfce, the menu is actually resizable by just dragging it on this corner here. So we'll put that back and close. And once again, there's our menu. So there's quite a few little things to look at in there that might be of interest. And we'll just remove these. You can also, if you want, if we go to New Panel, there's a new panel up the top, so we can right click that. We could go to its properties and we could move that to the left or the right, for example, and put all of these little contraptions we've just been playing with. You might want to have all them on that panel and put it somewhere else and set it to auto hide or something like that to customize your system. But we're going to get rid of that one for now. That's covered most of that across there. There's these other 3 dots here, so if we right click them and go to Preferences, it's something to do with notifications. I don't know what that is. I never seem to get notifications there myself, so you're on your own there. But as I say, those 3 dots are actually there. We'll try lock to panel. We've deselected that. Let's remove from panel, and they're actually gone now, so you could get rid of them if you don't want them. Didn't seem to save us any space, but they are gone. So your system updater, you can see I've got a few updates there. You can click on that to get the system updates, or you can right click it and get to its preferences, that sort of thing. Your networking and your volume. The volume, you can click on it and drag. You can also just roll the mouse wheel, as I'm doing now, so you see it's at 4%. Now it's at mute, and roll the mouse wheel. I find that pretty handy myself. And of course you can right click and go to the preferences and set up your hardware, your inputs and outputs, that sort of stuff there. Or you could even just go to the menu and type sound and get in that way. The date and time, if we click it, we get a calendar, and that toggles on and toggles off, so we have to clicking the desktop doesn't make it disappear on the Mate desktop, at least. So you have to click back onto the clock. You can right click and go to preferences, and let's change it to 12 hour. I prefer that. The rest of that's okay. There's a few more options there. Locations, we can add Melbourne. Yeah, there's my location approximately. It's Melbourne. And you can add some more if you want to know what time it is. Well, let's try another one. Let's add London. Heathrow Airport, that'll do. I just want to know what time it is in London sometimes. This seems to happen a bit. Clock has quit, so if I just click reload, that seems to fix it. Some little bug in the system there, but now if we go back to the click on the clock, here we've got locations, we can click on that. Now we've got London and Melbourne in there. Of course you can add more if that's what you want to do. That's covered the bottom of the screen. Obviously you can right click and change the desktop background or create a folder, that sort of stuff. That's pretty self-explanatory. These folders, these are created by the system when you install it. If you don't want them, you can go to the control center, and in desktop settings, show desktop icons. So there's computer and home, so we can deselect those. That gets rid of those. We'll come back into this and have another bit more of a look a little bit later. That pretty much covers the desktop that you're looking at when you first install the system. So we'll go back into the control center and we'll go into appearance. This little thing here pops up. So these are one-click presets in here. Let's scroll down and find a dark one. If we have a look, you can see everything's fairly light there at the moment. I like dark, so if we click on there, now we've got everything sort of dark. If we open the file manager, you can see that's gone dark as well. You can further customize by hitting the customize button. And for example, if we want a lighter border, like that, we can get lighter borders, different icons. We'll just try something a bit different. You can see that's all changed in the menu, all changed in the file browser. We'll go back to the standard ones for now. The mouse pointer, if you want that different color, so it's a bit dark there, you might want to go for a white one, and you might perhaps want to make it a little bit easier to see. And there's the controls, so that'll make things a bit lighter in the center. If we went back to window border, we could go to a darker one there, so you can mix and match. As I say, these are one click, changes the whole theme, so we'll just go back to the mint white dark one for now. There are some more options in here. If you go to Windows, you've got some behavior options there. So select windows when the mouse moves over them. So instead of clicking on it, as soon as the mouse moves over it, it's selected. That up there, for example. As soon as I touch that one, it's selected. As soon as I touch that one, or if they were like that, so forth. Placement, I like them to be centered. Some people like them up in the top corner or whatever. And a few other options there. There's also the option here to move the title bar buttons up the top here. And move them to the left if we want. And then of course in here, this is like the old-fashioned control panel. So you can do your screensaver and your power settings and all of that sort of stuff in there. It's pretty self-explanatory. Well, that's a bit of a look around the default settings that are available on a Linux Mint desktop. I hope that inspired you and give you a few ideas to customise the system the way you like it.